loving Jacob Lawrence and Lamar Bearden, and then later Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein. I'm a child of the pop art era, and so I grew up loving pop art, and it never left me.
Speaking of childhood memories, I remember my mom saying something to me early on. She said, "The journey is its own reward."
Yeah. The funny thing about a saying like that is only people that have been on the journey understand it. And I have definitely been on the journey.
Walk me through it. Where do you pick it up?
Well, for me, naturally it starts, when I was a teenager growing up here in New York City. But I've been an artist my whole life, from the time I was in grade school. I always wanted to make things, and I never had an idea of doing anything else but being an artist.
Cey Adams is New York, a product of Jamaica, Queens. His artwork validates an experience and tells a more complete narrative. And I'm not just talking about his. From tagging trains to hanging on museum walls, he's done it all. Let's start with the mark he put on hip-hop.
Well, this is the beautiful thing about growing up in New York City, is that I was fortunate enough to be in the mecca of where all this creativity was started. We were just trying to create art that was going to change our circumstances, one day at a time, and one thing led to another. I was fortunate enough to meet Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin very early on in my career, and through them allowing me the opportunity to design album covers, I was fortunate enough to be the creative director at Def Jam. And then Run DMC and the Beastie Boys take me out on tour, and I got to travel the world. And that was when I got to see the power of this thing that we now call hip-hop.
I met one of Cey's studio spaces. This one is in Dumbo, Brooklyn. I'm here to see the process firsthand and to have a conversation. And a good one it was. From setting goals to defining success and his place at the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. So you're an artist that actively is setting goals and has set goals from the beginning?
Oh, always, yeah. I mean, even when I didn't realize I was setting goals, in order to have your work hanging in a major museum, that's not going to happen by accident. You have to take baby steps to get to that point. The museum commissioned me to make a giant American flag, a Black American flag, for the opening dedication of the museum. And I spent 4 days on the National Mall painting this giant Black American flag. And I wanted people to understand that this flag represents all of us. When you zoom in and you look at the detail, you recognize that it's not about black or white, it's about everybody. But that's there really just to get people's attention. But when you see something that's black, you're like, oh, what's this? Is this a political statement? What is he trying to say? And then when people look at the content, you realize, this is made from vintage Life magazines and Ebony magazines and House and Garden and all of these other magazines that, are no longer around. But the idea is that it tells all of our stories. I just thought it was a perfect opportunity to incorporate everything that I've learned as an artist and put it into something that is very familiar to everybody in America.
A contemporary of Basquiat and Keith Haring, Cey is in that class and keeps going. He'll argue that art isn't a necessity, but nobody can argue that art that moves you, makes you think, stuff like this, doesn't hit you like food for the soul.
I would have never imagined being able to do something like this and have an anthology that I can hold in my hand and say, this is my contribution to American culture. This is it. This is a big, big deal. And I couldn't be prouder. The love of the culture always goes on, because I recognize that this is something that we created, and it's our job to educate the next generation. And that's the thing that I'm so excited about, is talking to high school students about the fact that I helped to create this. and now I'm handing the mantle over to you. And it's your responsibility to pay it forward for the next generation, because they may not understand, the journey that I was on, but they'll understand your journey.
How do you define success, and has that changed over the years?
Wow. I define success as sort of just being happy wherever I am at that moment. And, that's really all you can ask for.
The journey's the reward. So true.
Really is.
Amazing.
That flag was fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
I'd really like to see that up
Really
close.
cool. I was aware of him, but I didn't know his full story. That was interesting for sure.